Hey friends, Ever Evasive Worm here today to talk about the new raid. And specifically, kind of, I guess, a point of tension in the community about this raid, whether it was hard or easy, and we're just going to kind of talk about that today. Um, yeah, so day one raid, I did not complete. I'm going to start out right out the gate with that so that everybody knows I did not get it done. Unfortunately, I have to rely on LFGs, and none of the LFG teams I had could finish the final encounter before I had to quit. I tried for more than 30 hours to get it. Not all of that was on stream, of course, but it begged the question in my head, is this raid easy or not? And the reason why I said this is because as I was watching guides, everybody was saying Nezarec, the final boss, spoiler alert, final boss was easy to kill in contest mode. I'd heard rumors of teams 3-manning, I'd heard rumors of teams using all Rat Kings to kill him on contest mode, mind you, on contest mode. And it started making me think, because I'm like, why couldn't I get it? Why couldn't I get it? Why couldn't I kill Nezarec? Why did it take so long to get to Nezarec? And what's going on with that? And so I started kind of analyzing all the kills and stuff and the guides and looking for common points of, what made their runs easier, what made mine harder. Of course, I know I was already at a disadvantage by using LFG. Unfortunately, I have no friends, personal friends, I should say. I have online friends, but I have no personal friends that play this game. And most of my clan is not online when I do this content, so I kind of am at the mercy of LFG, which doesn't make it easier, and I did go in expecting to have a very difficult time. But I had a lot more difficult time than I thought I would. And hearing all these other, fellow YouTubers talking about, oh, it was the easiest raid ever. You can kill him in 2 phase, you can kill him in 1 phase, stuff like that. It started making me question my sanity. So I started watching all these Nezarec kills primarily, all the wipes that I could find, all the not wipes I could find. I compared it with my own gameplay, and I found out, in my opinion here, that the reason why the day one raid was so difficult to complete for some was because it was heavily dependent on RNG. Now, I know that is a weird thing to say, because a lot of players that beat it probably felt like, oh, like, no way, like we killed him, we just had overwhelming power. But at the same time, it's not just that. If you analyze, like, as I went back and watched these encounters, watch the kills that I got, or not that I got, but the other people got, Nezarec stood relatively still. He would stand there and take it like a champ. Just stand there and take all kinds of damage to his face, to his chest, to a div bubble, if that's what people are using, and he would move very little. And then I go back and analyze, my games and my attempts, and that dude would scramble all over the place. Now, mind you, the teams that that I played with, we tried different plates. We tried different strategies, rockets, machine guns. We tried basically every strategy that we could think of and muster, but it still it wasn't enough. And so I do feel like there's a heavy amount of RNG in, especially the Nezarec encounter, but really throughout the entire raid, okay? And in the Nezarec encounter, I think that it's more so a matter of how much he's going to move, because on the times that he stood still for the first damage phase, we'd get him almost to half health. Easy, 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 easy. But on the subsequent, or the second and third attempts we had, he would be moving, he'd be flying, he'd be teleporting all over the place. And of course, Nezarec needs to be killed in 3 phases. Like, you don't have an option, because he'll enrage and wipe your team if you don't get it in that, in that 3 phase. So why are people so, I think that the people out there that are saying, oh no, it's so easy and all this stuff. I definitely think that he is an easier boss to kill. I think that it's, now that contest mode is over, most players could probably 1 phase him. Okay, if you have the right loadouts. And I think your average team of LFG can easily get a 2 phase, like hands down. Okay, and 3 phase, of course, which you have to get is very easy. The mechanics are easy, but like I said, the RNG behind it is wild. And that kind of leads me up to the second encounter. In the second encounter, first encounter's a cakewalk. We finished that in about 30 minutes. Oh, I apologize. We finished that in about 30 minutes. No problem. The second encounter, though, we had the issue of the little launchers that shoot you across going absolutely crazy. Okay, they would shoot you across just fine. Then the next thing you know, you'd get shot up to the second floor, or you'd get shot at a downward angle off the map or down to the first floor, and it was wild. Like the luck you had to get for our raid teams to not be launched to oblivion was incredibly crazy. Like, it blew my mind how many times we tried it, because nobody did anything wrong other than the fact that the game just, it launched them straight down, and that was it. That was the end of the run. And so that's an issue that I think Bungie should definitely address. I think they should make, obviously the launchers a little bit more clear, but that's an RNG factor that players are facing in the game. We had issues with the bosses spawning on the second encounter. The yellow bar centurion that you had to kill after you finish a floor, he would not spawn on occasion. I don't know if anybody else encountered that glitch, but let me know down below if you did, because it wasn't often, but it would happen probably 1 in 10 times. He wouldn't spawn on one side or on the other, or he'd fall off the map. Speaking of falling off the map, we'll talk about that more in a second. But that second encounter, it's a very easy time trial, but the amount of just shenanigans that can happen to throw it off is unreal. And I think that's another reason why people likely couldn't get the clear in the first days, because, not only are we not using a full team of professionals, but we're also at the mercy of the game being against us or with us. The third encounter had a very similar issue with the colossuses that are pivotal to the entire encounter just falling off the map and failing to give you the buff. And that was one of the most infuriating things, because that, again, it felt like one of those things that you couldn't control. Okay, you can't control when a colossus falls off the map without using something to absolutely nuke the guy. And obviously heavy is saved for bosses. So, if you're using double specials and a heavy, maybe. But I mean, there's so many ads, you have to use a primary. And I think that was another issue that this raid just, in terms of RNG, the RNG of whether or not the colossuses would stay up there, because the colossuses falling off the map would happen relatively often. Again, not every run, but it happened more often than it should. And it's not just like, oh, well, it's a matter of, don't kill them in a certain way, or don't use solar grenades. Like, we tried using shotguns, we tried using fusion rifles, we tried using heavies, we tried using supers, everything like that. And sometimes they would still just walk off the map. I don't know why. You'd hit them with something, they'd start shooting you, you'd take cover, to hide away from them, and they would shoot, they just walk off the map. And so that's an RNG factor that many players face. And of course, if you're doing this encounter 15, 20 times and it continuously happens, and then you finally get one, you complete it, that's great and all, but the issue persists that it shouldn't happen in the first place. Because if they hadn't fallen off the map, would you have got it 10, 15 times ago? I don't know. Maybe not. Sorry, I just realized that that sun's coming in here really bright. But yeah, that's kind of where there we go. That's kind of where we sat with the third encounter. And then of course you get to the boss, and the boss is very, very finicky about where you stand. Like, we tried literally almost every different plate. We watched, the professionals and where they stood and stuff like that. And that sun is bright. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. But they would stand on a certain plate, and the boss he would stand there in front of them. He might knock him up in the air like once or twice, but he would just stand there. He wouldn't try to teleport. He wouldn't try to, do anything other than just stand there and take it. And on my runs, we had one run where he stood there and just took it like that. He jumped up, booped us up a little bit, but he wouldn't just ever just stand there and let us deal a ton of damage. And I'm not saying that Bungie should make it so that he stands still. I'm saying that Bungie should reduce the amount of RNG between you know, different fire teams. Because again, some fire teams, is it dependent on where you stand? I don't know. Is it dependent on which plate you're on? I'm sure there's some to it, but we tried every plate and we had the same issue almost every single time we did it, you know, with him teleporting and jumping down and running back and forth to and from, you know. And it's just, there's a lot of RNG behind every encounter in that raid. So if you didn't get your day one clear, just know it's not all because, you know, you couldn't find the right fire team or because, you know, whatever. There's probably a lot of it that had to do with RNG, because this raid has a lot of RNG that just isn't really fair to the player. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it and the issues, you know, with that. But let me know what y'all think. Do you think that's the RNG was bad? Did you have some of the similar encounters did we have? You know, did Colossus walk off the map? Did the Centurions just fail to spawn? Did Nezarec act like a freaking chimpanzee and jump everywhere and run around while you're trying to damage him? Let me know, because I'd like to see the community's thoughts and see kind of a collective opinions on all the different encounters. But yeah, with that being said, thanks for watching, and subscribe, because I love you, and bye now.